tangibly as an outcome, the before and the after impact of how the entire program have helped you?
This program for me primarily has been about breaking things down. I think when we started off, there were lots of ideas. There were a very large block of ideas. But what this program really helped me is to break down the entire business into very, very digestible blocks. Like what is the customer needs, what are their activities, what should be our something as simple as value proposition really took us a few weeks to get to, and that kind of dedicated effort is something that we have not put on our business till this program started, because we were obviously running after how do we keep the business afloat, how do we start getting customers, but understanding the voice of customer and then structuring the company internally to deliver that is what this helped me do. And specifically, I think once we got to the go-to-market is something that we thought we were fairly okay with, but there were a few insights that came out of the exercise by breaking down the market, finding out what is large, what is not, which would be the right markets for us to go after. For instance, we were thinking of going after the large markets, but then we kept the large markets for channels, but we started going directly after the smaller or mid-sized markets, and things like that were not necessarily things that we had thought through completely before this. And I think just making smaller chunks of the large business plan helped us a lot.
Key specific module that really stick up for you that was deeply helpful and insightful in learning about things that you don't know?
So I think from the first one we're talking about customer activities and what we need to do, tying value proposition to the customer activities and things like that. That was something that we hadn't really done at all. So that was insightful, helpful to really use. But like I told you, I think the module on the go-to-market was particularly important because that's something that we thought we were doing
well,
okay with. But being able to break that down and say, okay, but these are the different market segments. These are the ways we need to prioritize the segments. Having a structure or a module in which we can rank these different segments and see how we fit into each one of them, that was really useful. So like I told you, I think before the start of the program, we had a very different idea of which segment we wanted to go after.
Yeah.
But we came out of the program saying, okay, Indian market, mid-size segment is something that we will address directly, whereas leave the large segments to the channel, and maybe in a couple of years we will move into global markets, right? So that kind of clarity is what we were able to establish.
Is it the whole program or the module that was more powerful, or was it the path itself that was more powerful?
Value in this program or the module was that we are forced to think about every single aspect of the business. Me coming from a sales background is very simple, easy for me to just focus on maybe the go-to-market and forget about everything else. But as a business or as a startup, I think there is value in actually having the founders think about all aspects of the business itself. So the way it is structured, I found it very hard with some specific modules, but I really think it is important for someone to go through, all the different blocks within the module for their own benefit, right? I might take away more benefits from one specific block or module itself, but I think it is important for the founders to go through the entire program.
So what can you say, to a founder to encourage them or say to them that to spend this kind of time and effort to see the benefit though?
So like I told you, when we started off the program, I was wondering why we needed 5 months or 6 months. And by the time we ended the program, I was wondering, what hit us. There was so much, even in every a couple of weeks. By the time we struggle with one module, there is one more just coming up. There are a few videos, we need to do those assignments. And I think that kind of detailing requires time. So if it has to be that, I think to get the maximum out of this, there is no shortcut than to give it time, right? And every single module is very important. Every single aspect in the module is very important to how the startup is going to run for at least the next year or 2 years, if not say 5 or 7 years. And you're really doing yourself or the startup no justice if you don't give it time. And I would highly recommend giving it the right amount of time and the right amount of undivided attention that it needs to get clarity, to have these conversations with Josephine and back. And also one thing that we miss doing is maybe in between the time when Josephine asked us to do a particular module and we go back to them. There were not too many conversations between us. We probably stuck to the end of the deadline to, get back to Josephine. But I think what would be useful is if we continuously sent some work back, got some feedback. And by the time you had these one-on-one sessions, your work would be much more clearer for yourself. That is something that I would highly recommend. advise teams to just go and connect with you, because my sessions with you, more than the videos, was so much more useful, right? That entire thing about breaking down ideas, showing you my mural, and then you're completely picking it apart. That process was so much more useful than looking at the video, right?
It is.
So that is something that I would recommend people to.
How important was it for the co-founders to do it together?
In our case, it was useful, but I'd say Arun and I have been, working in tandem since the beginning. Whether it is matters of technology or with business, there's a lot of back and forth that we keep having. So, but I know of startups where founders are extremely compartmentalized, right? Someone who's doing business will only look at it. Someone who's doing technology, only the technology. Someone who's technical will look at only the technical stuff. So from that perspective, I think it's very important that the co-founders get a very clear idea of the entire business, and then they can go back to doing what they're, best at. But you'd be surprised with the kind of insights that come from, say, the other co-founders. So for example, if I'm a business co-founder and someone else is a technology co-founder, it's very surprising the kind of business insights that comes from a technology co-founder, right? Otherwise, it becomes a very one-dimensional thinking. So if it's just me or the business co-founder continuously thinking about business, then you might, start believing yourself too much. So from that perspective, I think it's very important to have that second voice or third voice coming from other co-founders, talking about things that they don't think about, but something, they could come up with very simple insights which just strike you. So to that extent, I think it's very important to have or to do this exercise with co-founders.
So what do you think that after this program now, how it has changed how you would go forward in terms of running the business or with regards to the business now?
There is clarity in certain aspects, like I told you, how we think about a customer, how do we think about solving their problems. So one is, it gives us structure to continuously put to use for any future customers, for any new segments that we target. So it would be wise of us if we use the structure that we got through this module. But there are also a few modules where we've put together how we should go after a business, how we should go after maybe building barriers to our company, which we will execute now, right? So no question that this has been very, very productive and useful in multiple aspects for us. Doing it iteratively definitely helps, not just within this accelerator, but now that we have the framework, I think we'll need to continue to iterate on the modules that we've built, and that's the most important thing. So it doesn't stop here. The business model that you built is not static. It needs to evolve. It probably needs to evolve every few months also. So I think being iterative within the program also is very important, and even post that is something that we will need to do.
What would you have done differently to maximize what you get out of this?
Founders will need to find ways to make it more useful than the other way around, because there's a whole lot of content, right? I didn't expect to go into the depths of so many things that we did. So there is a lot of content, but the founders will need to put this to the right use.